Hello, and welcome to Senior Speak New Hampshire. My name is Dan Wise. I am a volunteer for AARP New Hampshire, and AARP New Hampshire is a sponsor of this show, helps make it possible. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. That's a quote from Arthur Ashe, and it's a great quote for the topic that we're going to talk about today, which is volunteerism. No doubt many of you have contributed some of your time to help others, whether it was in an organized fashion or maybe just something you did spontaneously and short term. You helped a neighbor or you helped someone that you didn't even know. No doubt you might even benefit from the volunteer efforts of other people. Volunteerism is an undervalued, underappreciated asset that powers the quality of life in New Hampshire. And today we're going to talk about how volunteering is supported in our state and celebrated. And our guest is Gretchen Stallings, and she's executive director of something called Volunteer NH. Gretchen,
hi.
welcome to Senior Speak.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I did not know until a few months ago. I didn't know what Volunteer NH was. I've seen your name. I've seen the name of the organization attached to a conference and attached to an awards program, but I didn't really know what it is, what kind of a group it was, or what your real purpose was. Can you explain what Volunteer NH is first?
Absolutely. So Volunteer New Hampshire is a statewide organization whose purpose is really center around connecting individuals and organizations to service, celebrating service, as you said, and then also just supporting the infrastructure of volunteerism and service in the state of New Hampshire. So really just helping to keep the volunteer ecosystem rich and healthy and continuing to expand so that people can give back to their community in a meaningful way and find connection and helping to solve issues that come up for themselves and their neighbors.
Yeah. So is it a state agency? Where do you get the funding for it? Or is it a nonprofit? How do you get the funding for it?
So we're an interesting makeup. We are a nonprofit organization, and we are what's called the State Service Commission. And every state has a designated state service commission. In the state of New Hampshire, we live in Concord on the state office grounds, and we receive primarily 90% or so of our funding federally through AmeriCorps, the federal agency.
Oh, okay. Wow. So, and it's, as you say, to support and celebrate volunteerism, promote it, that sort of thing. So first of all, I'm curious how you got into this organization and what's the background that led you into this kind of program, this position.
It's interesting. It was accidental. I had studied elementary education, and I had sort of rushed through very excitedly pursuing my future, and I finished school in the fall or in the midwinter, December, and that's not the time that you look for teaching jobs. So I needed to have gainful employment, and I was eager to go. And substitute teaching is just not something you can always guarantee paying the rent with. So I found myself taking an AmeriCorps position, and an AmeriCorps position is a volunteer position. It's different than the traditional volunteer, volunteer positions, because there's an educational award that goes along with it, and there is a living stipend. But essentially, for the next near year, I spent working in rural Vermont, volunteering and working to grow a volunteer program that was a literacy-based program, and it was I made lots of connections in the community, and got a cadre of folks who would go into childcare centers and read to kids and just sort of share books and share the joy and the love of reading with kids. And it was amazing. And I just continued to move forward from there into, positions of civic engagement, and really, took that experience to my later days here now at Volunteer New Hampshire.
I see. So, and we were talking earlier, and you mentioned that your family, had kind of given you some insight and experience into volunteering as a family.
Yeah, that's just a value that was always really important. It was just the way we lived. Whether it was something structured, like my dad was a Boy Scout leader for, I believe, 30 years. We were also involved in our faith community, always just doing something somewhere with someone or for someone, or whether it was stuff like that, or helping out a neighbor with mowing the lawn and that sort of thing. It was a value that was just always carried, and I think that's one of the things that is so special about New Hampshire, is that tradition of service still stands today. Volunteers are the backbone of our communities, and I've enjoyed being able to work at an organization that has that value, so that I can carry that forward with my own children and my own family, and then support other people in finding that connection, where they can step up and offer their time and the skills and the knowledge and experience that they have to help someone else, or to help a important, in pursuit of something important that needs to be solved or fixed in the community. Yeah. And I see so much of that. That it just inspires me.
Toward the end of the program, we'll make sure we talk a little bit about something called Get Connected, which is on the Volunteer NH website, which is a way, if you want to try to find a way to get some volunteer experience, and find a volunteer experience, including even just how to be, if you wanted to be on the board of directors of an organization. It's called Get Connected, and it's at the volunteernh.org website. But first, one of the things we wanted to talk about is one part of your mission is celebrating volunteerism, and you guys have a annual shindig called Spirit of New Hampshire, or Spirit of NH? I'm not
Spirit
sure.
of New Hampshire.
Spirit of New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about that program, and when and where and
I'm
how?
excited to.
Okay.
So Spirit of New Hampshire is one of the funnest, most incredible events that we do. It's the largest volunteer recognition event that happens in New Hampshire. It happens in the fall. This year we're scheduled for October 26th at the Capitol Center for the Arts. We come together and we really shine a bright light on service, and all types of service. So, the service that happens with structured organizations, and then service that happens just within communities, that kind of more quiet person who just sort of steps up and sees something that needs to be done and does it. When we talked before, I mentioned when I was a kid, the library in our town wasn't staffed, and we couldn't afford to staff it. So there was a woman who would come in 2 or 3 days a week, and she would volunteer for a couple of hours after school to make it so that kids could go to the library and get books. It's that kind of thing that just happens all around the state. And that is so important, and just lends to us being able to live, live in a healthier, more richer, more positive way, and for us to be able to come together to work on community problems. So Spirit of New Hampshire celebrates that from one end of the state to the other. We typically make around 150 awards. It's a really big evening.
That's a lot of, and people, they could go to volunteernh.org to nominate somebody. And what kind of information do they need to provide to do that?
So to be able to be eligible for an award, people need the nominees need to have contributed a substantial amount of service in the past year. It's a pretty loose program or application as far as as far as that goes. We want to be able to recognize a lot of people. We want to be able to recognize a large range of diverse activities and people from different communities. So it's not something that is really restrictive or difficult to fill out, and we're happy to offer help to people if they need help with that. But it's a pretty straightforward process, and then it's reviewed by a panel of community reviewers. And as I said to you before also, we're always looking for people to be interested in helping out with Spirit of New Hampshire. So if, I would recommend that people think about making nominations for folks in their own communities or with the organizations that they use or frequent. Or even just, neighbors that they see stepping up and mowing a lawn or trimming back bushes or just helping to make the community better. But
so they don't have to prove that the person who volunteers is part of a 501c3 organization.
No.
It could be someone who is just a really fixture in the community, who's doing things for others.
We're looking at a broad spectrum, because I think that sort of similar to the quote that you used there. I love the quote, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that everyone can be great because everyone can serve. That drives me. I feel like there's a place for everybody in our community to connect, and I think that can be through service. I think so many times you carry experience with you that is just gold for someone who doesn't have that experience. Yeah. So that's what I love about the Spirit of New Hampshire. It's just shining a bright light on how we as a state and communities, how we come together to help each other and to help make our stead better.
Yeah. So you recognize there's a lot of folks to get recognized, and then there is like a champion. There's like different categories of awards, and then there's also something called the People's Choice Award, which we have a little bit of video of that we'll show, that we could show right now.
So without further ado, the 2025 People's Choice Award goes to Mackenzie Murphy. Mackenzie is always looking for ways to give back to those in need. She volunteers with several nonprofit and town boards, educational committees. Come on over here, Mackenzie. Don't walk away just yet. I'm coming in that picture too. So come on over here. I'm reading this here just in case you want to say something. This is your moment. The people chose you. That's fantastic. She volunteers with several nonprofit and town boards, educational committees, as well as with her local parish, and was even elected as the youngest member in history to serve on the Merrimack Town Council. Through everything she does, Mackenzie wants others to know that they are seen, heard, and valued. So, thank you. You are the People's Choice winner for the evening. Would you like to say anything?
I can just say I'm completely just blown away. I was not expecting this at all. Truly, I love to serve our state. I love to serve my town, and I was actually adopted at a young age, and so I feel like with everything that I've had the opportunity to experience and every opportunity that I've had, I always want to give back to those less fortunate and those that to be able to provide others the same experience as myself. So just thank you so much to the Board of Volunteer New Hampshire, their staff, their leadership, and to everyone here who did vote. So thank you so much.
And so this is broadcast, this award program is broadcast live on Concord Community TV, which is how you might be watching this show right now. And they do that every year. And you get a pretty big crowd, too, at this thing at the Capitol Center for the Arts. So, because you not only have all the awardees, but their family and friends and other supporters. And so it sounds like a great event. And that's going to be October 26th.
Yes, it is.
And we're broadcasting this initially in the month of July. And you should go to volunteernh.org and you can find information about how to nominate somebody. You can also find out more about the organization in general. So let's talk a little bit about one of the other parts of your mission is supporting volunteerism in a variety of ways. So you support organizations with some targeted grants and some mini grants. Can you talk a little bit about that side of your program?
Absolutely. So as I had said, we really are we're looking to hold the infrastructure and to make it stronger and better and richer. And one of the ways that we do that, we do serve as the agency in the state that awards the AmeriCorps grants. But then in addition, we have smaller community mini grants. And those grants are really awarded to a broad range of nonprofit organizations who do need to be 501c3s for this piece, but that are targeted towards growing their volunteer base or their ability to volunteer or to serve or to recruit volunteers, growing the number of volunteers that they're able to have, or providing training, just sort of one-time costs that will help them with the capacity of their program so that their program is able to serve the community more, or bring that reach of their program out to more people.
Yeah, and these are mini grants. They're like $1,000 to $4,000.
Yes.
And they're sort of a short-term period. It's like, the fairly simple application process, and then you get the money, and they expect you expect them to kind of do it right away. Put it to work right away, supporting volunteers or recruiting volunteers. And I think that's a great program because it seems like it would support, it would be accessible to small organizations that really don't have a lot of infrastructure themselves, maybe, some of the smaller groups.
That's exactly what it is. We try to look at the overall landscape of what organizations and individuals are doing service and how we can be accessible to all of them. So we have New Hampshire Volunteer Engagement Network, which is a group that we just sort of administer, and we help so that volunteer managers can all come together, and they have a quarterly meetings, and then they also have a base camp where they can share best practice and that sort of thing. That's, all of the things that we do are free of charge. So they're able to access that free of charge and connect that way. We also have, as you said, the mini grants, and it's a very low barrier. So there's not a lot of, stringent fiscal regulations attached to that. It's a really low barrier. It's a sort of one-off. They're going to choose what they're going to do. They're going to do that, and we're going to help support that, and it's going to grow their ability to get volunteers out and into service. And then we do have the larger grants for organizations that have the capacity to manage something that's a little bit more.
And those grants that now something you had a planning process that's called the State Service Plan. Is that what it is? Okay.
Yes.
And that's like over a 3 or 4 year time horizon, and you identified some priorities so that to help guide your work.
Yeah.
So could you give us what those priorities are and kind of what the rationale is about that?
So because we receive those federal funds, we want to work with partners across the state to ensure that we are targeting the same priorities and the same issues that they're seeing. So we're really looking to see what are the top, and we identify three every 3 years. What are the top 3 issue areas that we can all come together on and decide could be helped and supported through volunteer programming? And so housing stability comes up in that list. Job skills and workforce development also comes up in that list. And then mental health and community connection. So those are our 3 priorities that we're looking at right now for the next 2 years, or about a year in. And we work with the Office of the Governor, and we work with, we do roundtable discussions, we do surveys, we really come together with a large pool of folks to determine those. And then we can use those to help us to direct the work of Volunteer New Hampshire. So there might be a priority in grant making where we give additional points for one of those areas.
Priority, if they're going to be touching on that
Yep.
priority.
At the same time, it's also a priority for us to reach out to organizations that do work in those spheres and get to know them and have them get to know us, and really talk with them about what they're seeing to bring that to light. We have a conference that we do in May. We just wrapped that up a couple of months ago, and there we had a panel where we brought in folks from each of those respective areas to just do some education and answer questions and really interface with volunteers and volunteer managers to talk about how we can, as a sector, come forward and help to create opportunity for people to make a difference in those areas.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder if we could talk a little about, like some folks, they might feel constrained in the amount of time they have, or maybe they have mobility issues and things like that. But that's not necessarily a barrier to volunteering. Can you mention some of the, ideas for like unconventional volunteering or less organized volunteering that people might be able to tap into?
yeah, so I think that I was just looking back at something that kind of brought up some of these thoughts. We're looking at innovation. The world has changed, and so we're looking at innovative ways all the time to connect with each other. And with the use of technology, there's so much opportunity. And then I think also, as I said, I feel like everyone has some treasure, some talent, some experience, even just companionship, having discussion, being able to be there for someone and talk. There are so many possibilities for what it is that you have that you want to share with the world. You mentioned Get Connected. There are, I believe, there's around 400 opportunities on Get Connected right now. And that's not the only platform. That's the platform that we use, but there's also, the organization that you're from. You're with AARP,
Yep.
and they have an incredible volunteer organization. So I think it's really kind of just taking that first step.
Yeah, and they emphasize, like with AARP, for example, they emphasize that you can volunteer whatever you can contribute. They will find a way to get you involved. For example, they have a speakers bureau, and somebody might go, "Oh, I'm afraid of public speaking. I would never do that." And they'll say, "Well, you could just be a I don't have to remember the term for it, but you could be part of the speaker team without being the speaker. You could be the greeter, so you could be at the event and you could support the speaker. It's another volunteer who's going to go give the talk, but you're going to be there in the room making sure materials get passed out, or just making people feel comfortable when they arrive. And then there are other times where somebody says, I can volunteer in the springtime, but I'm a what do they call it, a snowbird, and I'm not in New Hampshire in the winter."
Yep.
And they're like fine with that. And it's like there there are many opportunities out there, and there's often flexibility because
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways to get plugged in. And on the Get Connected website, there was a program there called, I don't remember the name of it, but it was, you could help some people in Ukraine practice their English. There were people studying English, and you can sign up for this volunteer thing where you just are on a phone call, conversational phone call with someone from Ukraine who speaks some English but wants to improve their English. And you can volunteer right from your home, just making a phone call on a regular basis, where you make that, just that simple kind of commitment. And then there are many other things, mentoring, in a very structured kind of thing where it's not like you're taking on responsibility for somebody's life, but you're advising them, or you're just giving some advice and things like that, versus one-shot deals where they need extra hands to do something.
Absolutely.
So that's at volunteernh.org, and it's look for something that's marked Get Connected.
Yes.
As anything else. Now, how are the Get Connected website has like some different fields that you can search on, right? Like,
Yep.
how can you kind of explain how that
absolutely.
works?
So you can choose the areas that you're interested in. You can choose by region. You can choose if you're looking for a regular volunteer opportunity, or if you're looking for a one-time, the amount of time that you have, the days. You can search all different kinds of ways.
And geographical, is there sort of a geographical?
There is, yep, by region as well.
By region, yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah.
And then you said also, AARP has some things like that. Are there some other places in the state that you would say, or ways that somebody in their community might look for a volunteer opportunity?
I think that it's limitless. I'm on the board of the Red Cross, and I know that they're a huge volunteer mobilizer as well. So, I mean, if it's by topic, disaster, you could connect as simply as your local fire department or emergency. There are always rich programs within municipalities, like looking for emergency responders and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Faith-based communities, school community,
Churches,
lots and lots of different ways. Yeah, senior centers. There are lots of ways to get connected and affiliated like that. But as I said, it's also there are lots of things that are happening within communities, like meal train kinds of things, or there's a wonderful organization called Lasagna Love. Where people are they've got time to make a lasagna for a family that's going through some sort of a medical issue or another just difficult time, and a lasagna is such an incredible relief.
Warm food.
It is warm,
It's like comfort food, definitely.
And food can be love, but it is that way of just participating with what you can do.
Parks, sometimes the rec department, sometimes they look for volunteers. As you mentioned, churches and and religious organizations sometimes have a very, they're really based in the community, so they can have a very grassroots understanding of what's needed, I would think.
And folks can always message Volunteer New Hampshire and ask for ideas. We are there for the community and for organizations, so this is a conversation we'd love to have.
So are you on like Facebook and other
We
places
are
like that?
Facebook, LinkedIn, I believe Instagram. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, all of the social media sites we are. So
Okay. Well, that's great. There's so many ways, and that's why I started off with the quote that start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. There's very many ways to volunteer, and I think that's one of the message I got from our prior conversation was, you don't need to be bounded by your conception of what volunteering is. That it's a it's some structured thing. It's, you know, whatever you have, there's probably a way that you can share it to help someone else. And
Absolutely.
our community, and it builds community, which I think is another message that you have, is that it really nourishes all of us. It nourishes the people you might be helping. It nourishes you most of all, and it's also an example to maybe your friends and family that if you're doing something like that, you'll maybe inspire them to do something too. And we hope that's what you take from our conversation today. So I want to thank you for watching, and I want to thank Gretchen Stallings of volunteernh.org for coming in, and we'll see you next time.